there, I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com, and this is my Smart American Accent Training. Welcome to our live Friday broadcast, coming to you live every Friday at 12 o'clock Seattle time. And I love taking your questions about American English pronunciation, American accent training. I like sharing free resources with you and showing you what you can do to improve your personal and professional communication in American English. To those of you who are new, welcome, and welcome back to those of you who've been coming regularly. It's nice to see so many familiar names and faces, and I see there's already questions, so that's wonderful. So at any time, if you're new or if you're not new, you can type your questions for me in the chat, and I go through and try to give you the best answer I can about how to pronounce words, how to correct accent, and all of the different topics you may be talking about. We also choose a topic each week to teach you that tends to be useful regardless of what your background is and what you're looking for. I try to pick the things that really are important for pronunciation and for being well understood, as well as sometimes giving you those little details about how certain kinds of English sound more American than others. So depending on what you're looking for, my goal is always to be clearly understood, to have you have the skills you need to be clearly understood, but oftentimes people will be asking about some additional information to sound American. So today's topic, I'd like to talk about vowel schwa. It's the most frequently used sound in all of English. So it's in many, many words, and it is a really important sound because when I can say the schwa sound, I can have the placement, the correct mouth positioning, and the correct sounds for many, many other sounds in American English. Again, we will be taking questions, so it may be a while before I can get to talking about the schwa. But I do want to share with you that I have videos about this. I have lessons about this on speechmodification.com, and you can check those out. I'm also going to show you some of the lessons today from my online course. I have several, but the online course that I've been highlighting lately is my 6-week course. And I'll show you how we talk about the vowel schwa in the course so you can get a feel for whether or not you might be interested in doing some online learning. I have, it's a self-study course with a very low subscription price. So I do a lot of free things and free resources, and this is a slightly more organized course that you can pay a small amount for to access. I'm also going to be doing a 6-week live in-person class, not in person, live via video conferencing. That's a paid class, so you pay to join. That'll be starting in May. And we're going to talk about a lot of the fundamentals of American accent training and American pronunciation. And we'll be in a group. It's the first time I'm doing this group class online, but with the current situation, I'm not able to do my local group classes. We can't gather, of course. So we'll be gathering on the internet. And as part of that class, one of the advantages is that if you've been watching me on YouTube, if you've been using my resources, and you've been hoping to be able to take a class, now's your opportunity because you'll be able to join in remotely and get the information you need. So I'll talk more about that in the coming weeks. I will say that you can check that out here on my website. I'll put the link in the chat for you guys. So after class, if you feel like checking that out, if you think you might want to be a part of the class, I'd love to see some of you there. Okay, we have a lot of questions piling up while I've been talking, so I'm going to start checking those out and giving you some answers. Firstly, we have some word requests. So we have the words calculation, security, lure, that one's hard for me, and manufacture. So I'm going to tell you how to pronounce these. I'm also going to point out where the vowel schwa is in those words. So vowel schwa is, as I said, the most frequently used sound in English. And in the dictionary, you'll see 2 symbols for it. So you may see something that looks like this or something like that looks like this. They're both the same sound. They sound like It's just that sometimes we hold this longer. So in a word like was, or see it in the dictionary with that symbol because it's held long, it's stressed. It's the only vowel in those words. And in other words, you'll see it written as an upside down E. That just means that it is short and unstressed. So in your words that you mentioned, we'll be seeing some of these unstressed schwas. I'm going to say one more thing about it, and then I will answer your questions, I promise. I like using the word above to teach this sound because it has two different letters, vowel letters, only one schwa, only one vowel sound, which is schwa in both cases. So it sounds like there's my short schwa, and above, there's my long schwa. The stress in the word is on the second syllable, above, short, long. But you can hear how it sounds like above. Both of the vowel sounds are the sound. So that's just useful when you're trying to figure out where the sound is. You can see it's spelled many different ways, and that's part of why it can be confusing. It will always sound like sometimes short, sometimes long. Okay, so that is the quick introduction to schwa. If we have time, we'll get into more words and how to practice on that, but I do definitely want to answer your questions. So we had calculation, and so we have the stress on that is on the syllable lay. We have the stress on that is on the syllable lay, calculation, 4 syllables. I have a schwa here in the shun syllable, cal. I have vowel a in the first syllable, same vowel that's in cat, calculation. And I think probably the tricky part in this word, beyond just which syllable should be long and short, is this Q syllable, calculation. So even though I spell it with a C and a U, I have a Y sound in there. So I would think about that as calculation, and I want to make sure I have the length on the lay. Okay, another word you had was security. I see that we have kind of some a theme across your words. In security, I have unstressed first syllable, stressed second syllable, cure. It's just like the word cure, security, and then 2 unstressed syllables at the end. I had something to say about that, security. I think what I wanted to say was your other words, lure and manufacture. I'm running out of room. I have a chur, an sound for that, U-R-E. And this one I have it sounds more like a lure. I'm going to lure you in. I think you can say that the same as the in manufacturer, like lure. I'm going to lure you. Lure. That sounds strange to me. I think I always say that with an oo and an lure. Cure, security. Yeah, so good point there with your words. A lot of similar spellings and many different things that those sounds can do. I definitely recommend getting used to using resources like the online dictionary. So I'm going to show you just for the word lure because I'm curious. And this is what I do when I'm making my videos and teaching my classes. I go ahead and look up words and see which symbols and which sounds are in them so that I can be accurate. And sometimes I may have a different pronunciation than the standard. So the online dictionary I prefer is the Oxford Learners Dictionaries. I show that often in class. It has the British English and the American English, which can help me because many times if I learned English elsewhere in the world, I might have been taught British English pronunciation. So here I can see, yes, that in British English, we have lure, kind of more the way I was saying it, with the schwa sound and the vowel And American English, they mark it as lure, with just the sound, lure. I find that very difficult to say.
Lure.
Yeah, and they're actually saying it like lure. They're not really using that. Their pronunciation doesn't match their symbols. So that's another advantage of this dictionary is I can listen. Let's listen to the British.
Lure.
Yeah, so theirs is just the R is a little bit different. Lure versus lure.
Lure.
Lure. Okay. That dictionary link is available on my website, speechmodification.com. You can use other dictionaries as well, or even just using Google Translate, listening, but being able to hear and repeat and starting to look at symbols to understand our topic today can be really useful. Great. So there's a lot of comments here. I'm going to try to get caught up. Yeah, Sid Hunt was saying the U in every word. So the U is doing something different in every word. Susan would like help with the word kitchen. She's asking if it's kitchen, kitchen, or kitchen. Okay, so she's asking if it has the TSH, if it has, she's asking where the word breaks apart. And I think that what's challenging with words that have sounds like T and SH and CH in them together is that we don't really break it too much. I say kitchen, kitchen. So I think I don't really do much of a T. I think I do kitchen with my break there and a CH sound. Kitchen, kitchen. My T, if I do a T at all, it's kind of a stopped T, kitchen, kitchen. But because when I'm saying it fluently, there's not really much of a break there, kitchen. I think that T is either silent, stopped, or dropped out entirely, and I just do the CH sound. That's a great question, and I'll think more about kitchen because it's obviously a common word that we use a lot, even more these days because we're in our homes and cooking in our own kitchens instead of going out. Yes, so Sidhant wants to know the pronunciation of the letter I in the words dedicate, solitude, and solidarity. Those are all the vowel I, which is my other reduced vowel. So we have the vowel schwa in longer words, like I was showing you before with organization. It's the short sounding The other unstressed vowel in many longer words is the I, and this is the vowel in did and didn't, and also in your words, solidarity. Your other words were solitude and dedicate. So all of those are the vowel I. Very good. Welcome from Brazil and from everywhere else. It's so nice to see all of you here. We have a question about pronouncing clarify and clarity. Clarify, clarity. Things that we discuss. They both have the air diphthong. So I would start when I was pronouncing them with air and then add in the KL sound. Air, clair. In clarify, clarify, I still have first syllable stress, but I have an I and a I diphthong at the end. Clarify versus clarity, clarity. I just have a little itty at the end that's tacked on in short. So clarify, clarify, and clarity. The main difference there is I have the I vowel in both of those, the same syllable stress, and just what happens between the last groups of sounds differs. Great. So let's see what else we have for questions. The question is there really a big difference between and air? Okay, so she's talking about if I have a word with the vowel and the vowel versus the a vowel and the vowel. So this would be a word like, we don't really have the and the I mean, I think of that as just being like her, versus the a would sound like our diphthong a. So the difference here would be for word and hair, and they really are quite different because for the I just have this sound, and for hair, I have the a plus the sound. So hair, I'm gliding between two vowels in words that have the A. So if you see that in the dictionary, this one I think just pretty much represents only an and this one represents an A plus an They almost should write it like that if they're going to do that kind of marking. I tend to write the R sounds differently when they're in the middle of words because I think it can be confusing looking them up in the dictionary and knowing what sounds you're supposed to make. But definitely words like her versus hair shouldn't sound the same, and hair is much longer and has the multiple vowel sounds in it. Great questions. Thank you, everyone. Sylvia wants to know how to pronounce the sound ah as in black. And some people say have to pull the front tongue. Okay, so yes, I can definitely help you with that sound. And I would suggest I have a video just about that sound, and I have many videos about all of the vowels in English. And I usually recommend getting oriented to what people mean when they say the tongue is in the front, because for the most part, we can't really feel what our tongue is doing when we're doing vowel sounds. We can kind of only feel it relative to other sounds. So for your vowel, I would say the most useful things, we're looking at this ah vowel. So this is a front open vowel. This shape represents as though it were my mouth. This is turned to the side, and this is the front of my mouth, the back, the top, and the bottom. Where you can feel this the most is if I'm going through the front, I would have the vowels like e, I, and ah. I'll just do these three. You can see how my mouth opens. My tongue is just resting, it's near the front. And so if I say, for example, bid, bed, bad, bid, bed, bad has the vowel you're looking for. And so I can feel my mouth being more open for that. And then when it comes to the front and the back, it would be something more like bod and bad. Or let's try lost and last. So the errors that tend to happen on this vowel is that people are too closed. So it might sound more like, I'm trying to say maybe man, it sounds more like men, or it's too far back. I might be trying to say last, and it sounds more like lost, lost. That's more the British, closer to the British pronunciation. So you can get more help for this vowel in particular in these words, but I think vowels overall, having that orientation about where they are relative to each other, being able to hear and discriminate them and learn which vowels are different in English than in your native language, that's generally how I teach vowels. That's definitely one of the topics I'll be talking about in my 6-week group class that I'll be starting in May. And it's one of the topics here in our online course. So I'll just show you that briefly as well. When you go to speechmodification.com, on the homepage, you want to click on the courses page. So here's my website, Speech Modification, and these are my online courses. So for those of you who don't think you want to join a group class, but you might be interested in checking out a class that you do on your own with videos, I'm going to say the best one to start with is my 6-week class. And this is the one that we'll be using as a textbook and as a learning tool in the group class. And so I'll just show you our information for a little bit about vowels that comes in this class. Many of the resources that I share in my group classes and in my online classes are also free. I have videos here on YouTube. I have lots of free lessons on the website. The advantage of the online class is it just organizes it for you. It tells you do this first, do this next, and it helps you make sense of the information because, of course, there's a lot when it comes to pronunciation. So here in the online course, it's broken down by week, and we have week 3, we start talking about the vowel sounds. And so it starts with a video kind of showing you and helping you orient to those vowel sounds. And then there's lots of information in the lessons about spelling, common words, and how to practice. So it builds your skills up for all of the vowels you might need help with. Okay, That was kind of a long answer to your question about vowel ah, but I did want to show you some of those ideas and resources. So I will check for your other questions. Thanks so much for being patient while I'm answering everyone's questions. There's a lot of people in class today and a lot of great questions. So Susan wants to know the consonant T in negative contractions, N apostrophe T, like don't, won't, is always a stop T in American English. Am I correct? Let's see. I don't agree with that. Separated T, because we can't do that naturally and make connections. So you can hear the differences. I've had people ask me about this who've gone through videos from my live classes, and they've been asking me, oh, here I hear you saying a stop T. Here I hear you saying the real T. Why did you do that one way or another? There probably are some reasons and patterns that happen there, but it is about fluency and connection. So yes, you can learn to do that stop T on those words, and that's accurate, and you can use it all the time. If you don't want to try to figure out all the tiny subtleties, if a little small T comes out when you're saying don't and won't and can't, totally fine. But you probably did notice that particularly, so the resonance happens in the front of the mouth. Front and back are not always that helpful. So also being able to hear those contrasts. In my materials on my website, you can find words where one is ah and one is ah, and that can help you begin to pull those two apart, because probably your ah vowels in many words are sounding too much like an ah vowel. Great, good idea, good question. We have a request for the word buoy. Yeah, that's a weird word, isn't it? So buoy is spelled with letters that don't really match how it actually sounds. It actually sounds like boo-e or boo-e, buoy. And there's kind of a little hidden W in between buoy. Yeah, that's a weird one. Good. Another question, if there's a difference between hut and hot, cut and caught. Hi, Miguel. Nice to see you. Miguel took my 6-week class, and he was lucky enough to come while we were still meeting in person just before all of this began. So he can tell you whether or not he thinks that's a useful class. Miguel, I'm going to be doing my 6-week class again, but in an online format. So we'll be meeting live using video conferencing. So anyway, nice to see you. So the question was between hut and hot and cut and caught. And yes, there is a difference here. The first words that you identified have my vowel schwa. So they have that sound. And these words have the vowel ah, which sounds like ah. And so even though they're spelled with letter O, they have an ah sound, which I tend to associate with the letter A. This is one of the most common errors for people on Vowel Schwa, is that they will tend to say it too open and tense. They will, instead of saying hut with a relaxed mid tongue and that schwa vowel, they'll say it more like hot, where the tongue is more tense, the mouth is more open, and that is an error pattern that happens for a lot of people when they're trying to say Vowel Schwa. So thank you for bringing us back to our Vowel Schwa topic. Let me show you those vowels on the vowel quadrangle so you can orient. Again, we looked at this briefly when we were talking about the black cat vowel that's in the front. And so when I'm looking at my schwa vowel, it's here in the center. Basically, when I say my tongue isn't high or low or front or back. It's just resting. My mouth is central, and that's the sound that comes out. Versus my tongue is way down on the bottom. My jaw is more open, and there's more tension in my tongue. So we have hut, hot. You can see it in my mouth. Cut, caught. So learning to relax and have that tongue central for this sound, the schwa, again, is very useful in many, many words and in your particular words that you mentioned. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone. It's nice to see you. Wendell's wondering about intonation at the end of thought groups, the common pattern. So he's saying, is that different to intonation in a list of items in a thought group? So he's asking about when I go, I feel fine versus when I go, dance, drink, and cook, I feel fine. So the general pattern for most sentences in intonation, so your sentence is when I go, I feel fine. We have two things here. We have our main sentence. So we're going to rise up when I go, and then we're not going to drop all the way off because there's more to come. When I go, I feel fine. Then our main drop off comes on fine. So if I was just saying when I go, I can't say that by itself. It's not a sentence. If I was just saying I go, I would drop all the way down. But because there's more to come, I rise up to stress the word go, and then I just drop back down. I like to call it on numbers. I would say I'm at a 2, 3, 2 versus a 2, 3, 1. 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 2, 3, 1. It's harder to do on the numbers. When I go, I feel fine. I drop all the way off. Then your other question, when I go, dance, drink, and cook, I feel fine. So then I just have when I go, 3, 2, 3, 2. When I go, dance. I do a little rise on each one, but I don't follow all the way off until I get to my last pattern. So intonation is complex, obviously, but having that falling off for my final thought group shows and marks my thought is finished. I have this, 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 and I'm done. So you can practice those kinds of patterns and they'll apply in lots of different things that you're saying. So Siddhant thinks I didn't get his question right. Breaking the word solidarity, you didn't want to hear the syllables, you wanted to know the sounds in the word perhaps? So I thought you were asking me to break up the syllables. Solidarity, solidarity. Those are the syllables. I have the I vowel, the air, and then I again, and an E at the end. And the first vowel, solidarity, I always have to check, is the ah vowel. So solidarity. Lots of sounds in that word. Excellent. Okay. So thank you so much for all of the great questions today. I see that we're reaching the 12:30 time, and this is a 30-minute class. So we did actually talk quite a bit about Vowel Schwa, but I think we could talk more about it next week. And I never mind if your questions, if there's more questions, and I don't always get to all the parts of my topic because the class is for you. And so what you would like to know is what we'll talk about in classes. Again, I will say, I hope some of you can join me for the 6-week group class. It's going to be on Tuesdays starting in the first week of May. And if I have enough interest, I may also do a Saturday class. We'll see about timing for everyone and what works best for everyone. But right now it's set up for Tuesday mornings. So anyway, check that out if you're interested. If you have questions about it, you can contact me and I'll give you some more information. And the link for that, I'll put that again in the chat one more time here so you can look at that and check it out. For other questions, I didn't show today, but I really do recommend using the search tools on my website, the search tools on this channel page for Speech Modification Seattle. And you can always contact me. If you leave a question or a comment on one of my videos, I'll let you know where you can find the resources. And if I don't have resources and answers for you already in my lessons and in my videos, I may make a new one because the best ideas come from you. You're the ones working on trying to improve and trying to understand all the complexities of pronunciation in American English. And I'm very happy to be here to help you. Thanks so much for being a part of class today. And I hope you'll be back again next week for our live class on Friday. And thank you for the great questions and all the support. It's wonderful to see everyone. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound American, you can do it. speechmodification.com.